It began on a quiet Tuesday morning at NASA's Deep Space Monitoring Station in Nevada. Carol Mills was half asleep at her station, coffee growing cold beside her keyboard, when the first anomalous signal appeared on her screen. She blinked, certain she was seeing things, but the pattern remained, pulsing with an unmistakable rhythm that couldn't possibly be random stellar noise. "Hey, Pete," she called to her colleague. "Can you verify something for me?" Pete Jackson rolled his chair over, squinting at her monitor. His expression shifted from mild annoyance to stunned disbelief. "That's not one of ours," he said quietly. Within hours, the station was buzzing with activity. The signal had a clear mathematical structure, prime numbers, followed by more complex sequences that defied immediate analysis. Government officials arrived by nightfall. The military established a perimeter. And 3 days later, Dr. Olivia Wright was escorted through multiple security checkpoints to the heart of the facility. Olivia wasn't what anyone expected. At 36, with untamed curly hair and wearing hiking boots with her professional attire, she looked more like someone who'd wandered in from a nature trail than America's foremost expert in theoretical xenolinguistics. "So you're telling me we have an actual alien signal?" she asked, not bothering to hide her excitement as she unpacked her equipment. "After all these years of false alarms and maybes." Director Frank Grimes nodded grimly. "We've ruled out every known terrestrial source. Whatever this is, it's coming from deep space, approximately 15 light-years out, and it's aimed directly at Earth." Olivia worked for 72 hours straight, pausing only for quick naps and meals brought to her desk. She mapped patterns, ran algorithms, and muttered to herself as she scribbled equations across whiteboards. On the 4th day, she called for an emergency meeting. "It's a distress call," she announced to the room of scientists and military personnel. "I've managed to decode the core message. They call themselves the Valkyrie. Their fleet is stranded in the Ta-Ceti system due to some kind of massive engine failure." The room erupted in disbelief and questions. Olivia held up her hands. "There's more. They've specifically asked for human help. According to their message, they've been observing our broadcasts for decades. They believe we possess unique problem-solving abilities their species lacks. This could be a trap," warned General Keith Powell. "Maybe," Olivia conceded, "but I don't think so. Look at the signal structure. It contains coordinates, technical specifications of their vessels, and detailed information about their biological needs. That's not how you lure someone in. That's how you beg for help when you're truly desperate." Against protocol and her direct orders, that night Olivia used the deep space array to send back a simple acknowledgement signal, just basic mathematical sequences to indicate they'd received the message and understood it. The response came faster than anyone expected. Just 8 hours later, new data flooded in. Images of enormous ships, schematics, and something that appeared to be faces. Insectoid, with multiple eyes and mandibles, but unmistakably sentient. "They're dying out there," Olivia told Director Grimes the next morning, her voice steady but her eyes pleading. "Their life support systems are failing. They have millions of their people in some kind of suspended animation." Grimes stared at the alien images on the screen. "The president needs to know about this. Every nation on Earth needs to know about this." Olivia nodded. "Tell them we have a choice to make. We can be the species that turned its back on the first aliens to reach out to us, or we can be the ones who answered the call." As dawn broke over the Nevada desert, humanity stood unknowingly at the threshold of its greatest adventure. The emergency summit in Geneva lasted 3 tense days. World leaders argued about whether to help the stranded aliens. Some nations wanted to send aid immediately, seeing a chance for alien technology and knowledge. Others feared a trap or invasion. In the end, the decision was made. Earth would send a small team, not an army or fleet, but a group of specialists who could assess the situation and determine if helping the Valkyrie was possible. Commander Jack Bennett received the call while teaching at the Naval Academy. "With all due respect, sir, there must be better candidates," he said to Admiral Wilson on the secure line. "There aren't, Bennett," You've led rescue missions in impossible conditions. You know how to make tough calls when lives are at stake. 2 days later, Jack met his team at the newly established First Contact Command Center in Houston. Dr. Olivia Wright was already there, surrounded by translation equipment and alien message transcripts. She barely looked up when Jack entered. "Commander, I've established basic communication protocols. The Valkyrie understand English now, at least rudimentarily." Chief Engineer Maya Foster arrived next, wheeling in cases of equipment. At 34, she had revolutionized propulsion theory at MIT before joining NASA. "I've studied their engine schematics," she told Jack. "It's beyond anything we've developed, but the principles seem sound. I might be able to help if I can see it firsthand." Dr. Sam Rodriguez entered the room quietly. The xenobiologist had spent years preparing for a moment he never truly believed would come. "Their biology is fascinating," he said, showing Jack diagrams on his tablet. "Insectoid features, but with internal systems remarkably similar to Earth life. I'm concerned about potential pathogens, though. Something doesn't add up in the data they sent." Last through the door was Lieutenant Alan Price, Marine Corps Special Forces. His face remained expressionless as Jack explained his role as security lead. "I hope I'm just extra baggage on this trip, Commander," Price said. "But if things go sideways, I'll make sure everyone gets home." Their ship, the Horizon, waited at a remote launch facility in the Arizona desert. It had been developed in secret, a prototype vessel with experimental engines that could reach unprecedented speeds. "She's not pretty," explained the project director, "but she'll get you there in 8 months instead of decades." The night before launch, Jack found Olivia working late in the command center. "You should rest," he said. "Tomorrow's a big day." She shook her head. "I can't. I've been reviewing their latest transmissions. Jack, they're desperate. Their life support systems are failing faster than they initially reported. Or they want us to rush in without proper preparation," Jack replied. Olivia's eyes flashed. "You don't believe them." "I want to, but my job is keeping our team safe." The launch the next morning was kept quiet. No media, no public announcements, just 5 humans ascending to the stars on humanity's most important mission. As Earth shrank to a blue marble behind them, Sam approached Jack on the observation deck. "Commander, I need to show you something." He handed over his tablet. "I've been analyzing the biological data more thoroughly. There are inconsistencies in their story." "What kind of inconsistencies?" "Their fleet's supposed to be 400 years into a 500-year journey, but their physical deterioration patterns don't match that timeline. And there's something else, genetic markers that suggest they've encountered other species recently." Jack looked out at the stars. "So they're lying to us." "Not necessarily lying. Just not telling us everything." The Horizon continued accelerating toward the coordinates of the stranded alien fleet, carrying 5 humans who had no idea what truly awaited them. 8 months passed aboard the Horizon. The crew trained, studied the Valkyrie transmissions, and prepared for every scenario they could imagine. Still, nothing could have readied them for the sight that greeted them as they emerged from their final acceleration phase. "My God," whispered Maya, her face pressed against the viewport. Hundreds of massive ships filled the view screen, arranged in a perfect geometric pattern around a small barren moon. Each vessel was several kilometers long, with elegant curved structures that resembled massive insect carapaces. Soft blue lights pulsed along their hulls like heartbeats. "Their fleet is at least 3 times larger than they described," Jack noted, unease evident in his voice. The comm system crackled to life with a voice that sounded partially mechanical, partially chittering. "Human Vessel Horizon, we welcome you. This is Ambassador Xerex of the Valkyrie Collective. Please proceed to docking coordinates." Olivia worked quickly at her station. "Their translation matrix has improved significantly since our last communication." Jack gave the order to approach, but kept the ship at reduced speed. "Alan, full security protocols. Sam, begin atmospheric analysis immediately." The Horizon docked with the largest vessel, a ship so enormous it made Earth's largest aircraft carriers look like toys. The docking mechanism sealed with a soft hiss. Atmosphere reads as compatible, Sam confirmed. Oxygen levels slightly higher than Earth normal, but within safe parameters. They stepped through the airlock in their lightweight containment suits. The corridor beyond was tall and wide, illuminated by the same soft blue bioluminescence they'd seen on the exterior. Ambassador Xerex waited for them. Standing over 7 feet tall, the Valkyrie had an exoskeleton that shimmered with iridescent blues and greens. Multiple compound eyes studied the humans, while 4 slender arms gestured in welcome. Despite the alien appearance, there was something unmistakably intelligent and gentle in the ambassador's movements. "We feared you would not come," Xerex said, mandibles clicking softly between words. "Your journey brings hope to millions." The ambassador led them through vast corridors. Other Valkyrie they passed stopped to watch the humans with what seemed like reverence. "Our main population remains in suspension," Xerex explained, leading them into an enormous chamber filled with countless pods stretching as far as the eye could see. Each contained a sleeping Valkyrie. Only essential personnel remain conscious. We maintain minimal life support to extend our resources. Maya was already examining data on her tablet. These power readings are dangerously low. Xerex led them to the engine core, a massive spherical chamber where swirling energy patterns danced within contained fields. "Our quantum drive suffered catastrophic damage when we encountered an anomaly in this sector," the ambassador explained. "We have the theoretical knowledge to repair it, but lack the materials. And what?" Jack prompted. "The creative adaptability to work with the resources available in this system," Xerex finished. "Our species excels at optimization and efficiency, but we struggle with innovative solutions to unexpected problems." Maya's eyes lit up as she studied the engine. "The principles are similar to theoretical models I've worked with. Different application, but I might be able to adapt our approach." While Maya discussed technical details with the Valkyrie engineers, Sam slipped away to examine the hibernation pods more closely. Alan stayed vigilantly at Jack's side, hand never far from his weapon. Later, in private quarters assigned to the humans, Sam shared his findings. "Their biology shows signs of genetic enhancement, specifically for intelligence and longevity," he said quietly, "and the ship's materials aren't consistent with their described homeworld." "Could they be lying about their origins?" Jack asked. "Not necessarily lying," Sam replied, "but I believe they fled their homeworld after some kind of ecological collapse. Probably self-inflicted." Olivia looked troubled. "Why wouldn't they just tell us that?" "Perhaps," Jack said, "because they're afraid we wouldn't help if we knew the truth." Maya spent days working with the Valkyrie engineers, learning their quantum drive technology. She was impressed by their advanced knowledge, but surprised by their inability to improvise. When a tool broke, they seemed paralyzed until she bent a piece of metal into a makeshift replacement. "It's like they've never heard of duct tape," she told Jack during their daily briefing. "They know exactly how their engines work, but can't think outside their established procedures." Jack nodded. "Have you found anything unusual about their systems?" Maya hesitated. "Actually, yes. Come see this." She led Jack to a secondary engine chamber where she'd been working. Pointing to a damaged section of the drive, she lowered her voice. "See these burn patterns? They're not consistent with a random anomaly. The damage looks deliberate, like someone knew exactly where to hit to disable the fleet without destroying it." "Sabotage?" Jack asked, keeping his expression neutral as Valkyrie engineers moved nearby. "I can't be certain, but—" Maya was interrupted by an alarm blaring throughout the ship. They rushed to the command center where Olivia was working with Ambassador Xerex. The main view screen showed a formation of angular ships approaching. Dark, predatory vessels that contrasted sharply with the elegant Valkyrie design. "Dreth warships," Xerex explained, mandibles clicking rapidly in what the humans had learned was a sign of distress. They claim this sector as their territory. The screen flickered, revealing a reptilian face with vertical pupils and scaled ridges. The alien spoke in a harsh, guttural language. Olivia worked quickly with her translation device. They're demanding we leave immediately. They call the Valkyrie resource depleters. The translation isn't perfect, but they're clearly hostile. You did not tell us about this species, Jack said to Xerex. We hoped to be gone before they detected us, the ambassador replied. The Dreth are territorial and uncompromising. Helen entered the command center, returning from his own investigation of the ship. His expression was grim as he pulled Jack aside. Commander, I found something in their historical archives. The Valkyrie didn't just leave their homeworld. They strip-mined it. Then they did the same to 2 other populated systems. They're not refugees. They're locusts. Jack stared at the ambassador with new understanding. The Dreth aren't just being territorial, are they? They're protecting their worlds from you. Xyrex's compound eyes dimmed. Our past methods were unsustainable. We've learned from our mistakes, but the Dreth do not believe we can change. The communications panel chimed again. Olivia translated the new message, her face paling. They're issuing an ultimatum. Either we abandon the Valkyrie within 36 hours, or they'll consider Earth complicit and a valid target for preventative measures. They're threatening Earth? Jack asked, incredulous. They have long-range capabilities that could reach your solar system, Xyrex confirmed. They've been observing your world just as we have. The human team gathered in their quarters to discuss the situation privately. We can't risk Earth for them, Alan argued, especially if they've destroyed other worlds. But millions of their civilians are in suspended animation, Sam countered. They'll die if we leave. Olivia paced the room. The Valkyrie claim they've changed their ways, but the Dreth don't believe them. We need more information before deciding. There's something else, Maya added quietly. I don't think the damage to their engines was caused by the Dreth. The sabotage came from inside their fleet. Jack looked around at his team, weighing their concerns. Earth's safety against millions of alien lives. A possible deception versus the chance to forge humanity's first interstellar alliance. We have 36 hours to make a decision that could affect the future of our entire species, he said finally. Let's make sure we get it right. The humans gathered in their meeting room, time ticking away on their ultimatum from the Dreth. Jack stood at the head of the table, his face showing the weight of their situation. We need solutions, not just problems, he said firmly. Maya, what's the status on the engine repairs? Maya projected a hologram of the quantum drive. The Valkyrie approach is too rigid. They're trying to replace components they can't fabricate in this system. She manipulated the image, highlighting sections. But what if we don't replace the damaged parts at all? What if we bypass them entirely? Is that possible? Sam asked. With Earth materials, yes. We could actually use some of our ship's components, combined with minerals from that moon they're orbiting. Maya's eyes lit up with excitement. It's totally unorthodox, but the physics works. The Valkyrie just can't see it because they've never had to improvise like this before. Meanwhile, Olivia had been analyzing communications between Valkyrie crew members. I found something interesting, she said. There's a faction within the Valkyrie that seems to regret their past behavior. They've been developing sustainable harvesting methods, but haven't implemented them because of resistance from their leadership. So they want to change but can't? Jack asked. Exactly. Their social structure is hierarchical and change comes slowly. But I think we can use this. Jack turned to Sam. What have you learned about their biology? Their physiology is incredibly efficient, Sam explained. They evolved on a resource-poor world, which might explain their harvesting behaviors. But they're capable of adapting to less destructive methods. They just need guidance. Helen, who had been silently listening, finally spoke. I still don't trust them. But what if we offer a conditional deal? We help them if they agree to our terms on sustainable practices. Jack nodded. Olivia set up a meeting with both the Valkyrie leadership and representatives from this progressive faction you've identified. The meeting was tense. Jack laid out their proposal. Humans would help repair the fleet using innovative Earth techniques, but only if the Valkyrie agreed to adopt new sustainable practices and limit their harvesting of any system. Your way of life doesn't have to destroy worlds, Jack told them. We can show you alternatives. The negotiations were interrupted by a proximity alarm. 3 Dreth warships had broken formation and were accelerating toward the fleet. A splinter faction, the Dreth commander explained via transmission. They do not honor our deadline. They attack now. Chaos erupted as the first energy blast struck the outer Valkyrie ships. The fleet's defensive systems, weakened by power shortages, could barely respond. We need to buy time for Maya's repairs, Jack shouted over the alarms. Olivia, can you open a channel to the attacking Dreth? While Olivia worked, Jack turned to the Valkyrie leaders. Let us help coordinate your defense. Your systematic approach won't work against an unpredictable enemy. Reluctantly, they agreed. Jack and Alan quickly developed a strategy using the limited Valkyrie resources in unpredictable patterns. They repositioned ships in seemingly random formations that confused the Dreth targeting systems. Meanwhile, Maya led a team of engineers to implement her makeshift repairs on the main drive. She combined Horizon components with Valkyrie technology in ways the aliens found baffling but effective. It's not pretty, she told a confused Valkyrie engineer, but sometimes ugly solutions work best. Olivia finally established communication with the Dreth attackers. Instead of threats, she showed them evidence of the Valkyrie's internal struggle and the humans' proposed sustainability agreement. They are changing, she insisted, and we're making sure of it. The attack faltered as the Dreth processed this information. In the moment of hesitation, the first of the Valkyrie ships powered up with Maya's modified engines, demonstrating that the fleet could soon depart the contested space. The immediate crisis had been averted, but the greater challenge remained, completing the repairs before the main Dreth force decided to attack. The temporary truce held, but barely. The Dreth maintained their perimeter around the Valkyrie fleet, weapons ready. Maya worked tirelessly, applying her unconventional solutions to the massive alien engines. This would be so much easier if they'd just try something new, she muttered, elbow deep in circuitry that glowed with strange energies. 2 Valkyrie engineers watched her work, their compound eyes blinking in what seemed like confusion or concern. One of them, named Kirax, finally spoke. Your methods violate 17 principles of quantum engineering. Maya smiled without looking up. Yet they're working, aren't they? She had managed to get 3 of the smaller ships operational using her hybrid approach, combining Earth materials with alien technology. But the main vessel, the one carrying most of the hibernating Valkyrie, remained powerless. Meanwhile, Olivia was facing her own challenges. She'd been working with a group of younger Valkyrie who seemed more open to change, trying to bridge the cultural gap. I don't understand, said Nirel, a scientist barely considered an adult by Valkyrie standards. Why would using fewer resources be beneficial? Efficiency means using everything available. Because some resources renew themselves if given time, Olivia explained patiently. On Earth, we learned this lesson the hard way too. Sam entered the room, carrying samples from the moon below. I think I found something, he announced. The moon's core contains minerals similar to those the Valkyrie need, but harvesting it would destabilize the orbital mechanics of this system, which is exactly what the Dreth are afraid of, Olivia realized. Jack and Alan had been negotiating with the Dreth commander, a formidable reptilian named Vork. The discussions weren't going well. Your promises mean nothing, Vork hissed. The Valkyrie promised the Tellurians they would leave their world intact. Now the Tellurians are extinct. We're not asking you to trust the Valkyrie, Jack replied calmly. We're asking you to trust humans. We'll ensure they keep their word. Vork's vertical pupils narrowed. And why should we trust your species? Because we almost destroyed our own world, Alan said unexpectedly. We know what it means to stand on the brink of self-destruction and pull back. Back on the flagship, disaster struck. One of Maya's experimental power couplings overloaded, causing a cascade failure through an entire section of the ship. Emergency systems failed, and life support began shutting down in a hibernation chamber containing thousands of sleeping Valkyrie. "We need power diverted now," Maya shouted, racing through corridors filling with cold mist as temperature regulation failed. The Valkyrie crew seemed paralyzed by the unforeseen emergency. Their protocols didn't cover this situation. "Forget your procedures," Jack yelled, taking command. "Sam, can we use the shuttle's power cells?" "They're not compatible," Sam began, then stopped himself. "But maybe incompatible is exactly what we need." Working frantically, the humans created a makeshift power system using components from their own shuttle, minerals from the moon, and Valkyrie technology. It violated every principle of engineering both species held dear, but it worked, crudely, inefficiently, but enough to stabilize the failing systems. As the crisis subsided, Ambassador Zirex approached Jack. "You saved thousands of lives using methods our engineers would never have considered. Perhaps this is why the universe guided us to find humans." "It's not about being smarter," Jack said. "It's about having different perspectives." Later that night, as the humans gathered in their quarters, Maya shared a breakthrough. "I think I know how to get the main drive online, but it's going to take everyone, humans and Valkyrie, working together. And we'll need the Dreth to stand down completely while we do it." Olivia looked thoughtful. "I might have a way to convince them. The young Valkyrie I've been working with have access to their historical archives, including records of their encounters with the Tellurians. What if we could offer the Dreth something they never expected?" "What's that?" Jack asked. "Justice," Olivia replied simply. The final phase of repairs began at dawn, measured by the artificial day cycle of the Valkyrie flagship. Maya led a mixed team of humans and aliens in a complex operation to restart the main quantum drive. Her plan was daring, connecting all operational ships to form a power network that could jumpstart the flagship's damaged systems. "It's like using jumper cables," she explained to the confused Valkyrie engineers, "just on a slightly larger scale." Jack supervised the operation from the command center, where he could monitor both the repairs and the Dreth fleet still holding position nearby. The tension was palpable as energy began flowing between the ships, creating visible beams of light connecting the massive vessels. Olivia had spent the previous day in intense negotiations. She now stood before the Dreth Commander Vork and a council of Valkyrie elders. On a display between them were ancient records recovered from the Valkyrie archives. "These are the complete biological and cultural records of the Tellurians," Olivia explained. "Everything the Valkyrie learned before their world was harvested. It doesn't bring them back, but it preserves their memory and knowledge." Vork's scaled face showed no emotion, but his voice was quieter than usual. "Why offer this now?" "Because change requires acknowledging past wrongs," Olivia said. "The younger generation of Valkyrie want to make amends. They've agreed to share all their technological knowledge of sustainable harvesting with your people as well." As they spoke, Sam worked in a specially prepared chamber where something extraordinary was happening. Using genetic samples preserved in the Valkyrie archives and techniques he had developed with their scientists, he had managed to create a viable embryo of a Tellurian, a small step toward possibly restoring a lost species. "It's not resurrection," he explained to the Valkyrie scientists watching in awe, "but it's a beginning, a chance to right a wrong." On the engineering deck, Maya's crazy plan was working. The networked power system was building toward the threshold needed to restart the main quantum drive. Alan stood guard, watching the Valkyrie crew carefully, still not entirely trusting but increasingly respectful of their commitment. 2 minutes to power threshold," Maya called out, her face streaked with sweat and alien lubricant. "Everyone stand clear of the junction points." Energy surged through the makeshift connections. Systems that had been dormant for months flickered to life. The great ship shuddered as its heart began beating again. In the command center, Jack watched as status indicators changed from red to green across the board. A cheer went up from both human and Valkyrie crew members. "Main power restored," reported a Valkyrie technician, mandibles clicking in their version of excitement. Life support stabilized in all hibernation sectors. The diplomatic deck was silent as Vork considered the offerings before him. Finally, the Dreth commander made a slashing gesture that his species used to indicate acceptance. "We will allow your departure to the coordinates you have provided," he said, "but we will be watching. If you deviate from your course or approach any inhabited world without permission, there will be consequences." 3 days later, the Horizon detached from the Valkyrie flagship. The massive alien fleet had begun its journey toward a distant, uninhabited system that both the Valkyrian and Dreth had agreed upon. They would build their new home there, using the sustainable methods they had learned from humans. "They're really leaving," Alan said, watching from the viewport as the enormous vessels engaged their drives, creating spectacular patterns of light against the darkness. "I'm still not sure we did the right thing," Sam admitted. "Their history of destruction is just that, history," Olivia finished for him. "They've changed. We helped them change." Jack joined them at the viewport. Earth is getting quite a return on its investment. The Valkyrie have shared medical technology that could extend human lifespans by decades, and their star maps will advance our exploration capabilities by centuries. As the Horizon set course for home, a final transmission came from Ambassador Zyrex. "Your species has given us more than repaired engines," the message read. "You've shown us a new way to exist in this galaxy. Know that you now have allies among the stars, and the name human has become synonymous with problem solver in our language." Maya smiled at that. "Wait until they see what we can do when we're not making things up as we go along." The Horizon accelerated toward Earth, carrying a crew forever changed by their encounter, and the promise of a new relationship between humanity and the stars.